Good evening. My name is Ann Winkle, and this is my case study for this final class project. So first, the reporting, the facts. This is what occurred. I am the principal, and part of my duties is evaluating teachers. I am very happy with my teachers except for one, Mrs. Stevens. After visiting her classroom several times, it is clear that she struggles with classroom management, motivating students, and involving students in lessons despite her intelligence and excellent background in her subject matter. We had a post-visitation conference that wasn't productive at all. She became very hostile and defensive when I nicely suggested to try to improve her students more, to involve her students more. She said her students always get quiet when the principal come in the room and that there is no research to prove positive effects of student involvement in the classroom. After their meeting and reflecting, I, the principal, decided to give her one more chance and visit her classroom again, but there was little improvement and none of the suggestions I had offered had been put into action. I left, not saying anything on the way out. I then decided to recommend that her contract not be renewed and filled out an official teacher evaluation form. I met with her the next day, handed her the rating form, which was thrown back on my desk. She said it was inaccurate and unfair. She hadn't received any help from me. The supervision had failed her and that she was taking this to court. That is what occurred in a nutshell. When did this occur? This occurred during the school year, probably at the end since I was making recommendations for the following school year, and it was the deadline for submitting teacher evaluations. Where did this occur? This occurred at my school, in Ms. Stevens' classroom for the evaluating, the conference room for post-visitation meetings, and my office for the final meeting. So who was all involved? The principal. I'm the one that did the evaluations. I have done several throughout the year, and each time there appeared to be little learning and not much classroom management, student involvement, or motivation. I observed that there was very little respect that her students showed towards her. During the post-visitation meeting, I tried to offer suggestions. She got defensive. I was discouraged by the way she received the suggestions and feedback, leaving me wondering if it would even pay off to continue working with her. I still decided to give her one more shot and visit her classroom. This didn't change my thoughts. She hadn't implemented any of the suggestions. Therefore, I decided to not recommend her contract to be renewed. And then when I told her this, she was upset and told me that she hadn't received any real supervision and that she was taking it to court. Those are the facts involving me. Ms. Stevens, she's a teacher at our school, very intelligent, excellent background in the subject. She lacks classroom management, student motivation. She was hostile towards suggestion. There was really no connection between student involvement and classroom achievement is what she believes. She finds it difficult to influence her kids, believe her poor performance and evaluation is partly because she gets nervous when she's being observed. Students act different when there's someone in the back of the room. She felt that she had lack of help from me and her supervisor, and so she's going to fight that she received this non-renewal. Who might also need to be involved is this supervisor that she claims that she had. There's not many details about her or him. Ms. Stevens says that they never gave her any practical ideas on how to involve students more. She hasn't been very helpful, the supervisor, and that she failed her, which again is why she's taking it to court. The superintendent might be involved because he's going to receive this evaluation and have to deal with the court issue if Ms. Stevens takes it to court or just not renew her contract for the next year. In terms of ethical issues in this case, there was mental harm, morale that was harmed. Ms. Stevens' morale and mental capacity was kind of harmed from all the evaluations and receiving poor ratings. She also mentioned that she gets upset when she's being evaluated and that her contract's not going to be renewed, so that could be very stressful. The principal might have some mental harm because of stress and dealing with this, and if it is taken to court. There was no physical harm, and there was no laws broken, no discrimination, no constituted harassment based on the facts that we were given. As long as I followed the correct steps mentioned in the contract and board policy to recommend a teacher for non-renewal, then there was no breach of contract. Now the synthesizing. This is all the details put into one. After several classroom visits and post-visit conferences, I have decided to not recommend Ms. Stevens for a contract renewal because of the lack of key elements in the classroom and her hostile and difficult reaction to my suggestions and feedback, which has now caused her to say that she has taken this to court since she says this is unfair and inaccurate, since her supervisors failed her and never offered practical ideas and have never taught her classes. That is all of this in one statement. Known facts about the people involved. Some of this is being stated again. So about me, I'm doing evaluations at this time. I tried to give her suggestions, Ms. Stevens suggestions. I gave her a second chance when I didn't have to. I didn't say anything on the way out after I evaluated her the second time because I didn't have anything positive to say. I tried to start off a positive conversation when I told her about the non-renewal, but she ignored it. Ms. Stevens, some facts about her. She's intelligent, very good background in her subject. She struggles with classroom management, though. She was irritable towards my suggestions. She gets nervous or upset when people are observing her, and she feels like the supervision has failed her at her school. And Ms. Stevens' supervisor hasn't offered Ms. Stevens any practical ideas on how to involve the students more. That is what we know. What we don't know, which is a lot, this case study, I feel like there was a lot of unknowns. Me, the principal, did I do evaluations of Ms. Stevens at the same time every time? How was our relationship before this? How long have I been the principal? What kind of feedback did I give on other evaluations that I did for her? Have I offered her professional learning in to better her areas of weakness? Unknown facts about Ms. Stevens. How long has she been teaching? How has she done on past evaluations? Has she had a bad experience with evaluations? Was she evaluated by any other administration? What's her relationship like with coworkers? With Ms. Stevens' supervisor, we don't know how often did her supervisor evaluate her or observe her. How often did she check on Ms. Stevens for guidance or anything? And what has their relationship been in the past? Those are the unknowns. Facts about where this is at. It's at a school. Unknown, we don't know what city, what state, what are the demographics of the student population. Is it rural, suburban? How big is it? What district is it in? Those are the things we do not know. Things about the program. We do know that it's a school where evaluations determine if your contract is renewed or not. Things we don't know. Is the process done every year or every 5 years, every 10 years? What grade level does she teach, Ms. Stevens? What subject does she teach? Is it a public school, private school? Did she teach special ed, ESOL students? Was there a mentoring program for beginning students or struggling students? And did the school have a developed or effective professional learning program? In terms of prioritizing the information, this could be damaging to the stakeholders because if it's taken to court, it might be bad press for the school, the principal, the district, especially Ms. Stevens wins. Who is at stake with this outcome? The principal could be at stake. I could be at stake if she wins the battle, the court battle. Bad press. The students could be, their learning could be at stake. If she's not an effective teacher, Ms. Stevens could lose her job. The superintendent could have some bad press, and we'll have to evaluate the principal if Ms. Stevens wins the court case. People that I need to consult as a principal. I should consult her supervisor, the department chair, coworkers, past supervisors that she's worked for, the superintendent for advice, and maybe another principal that I've worked with to get their opinion on the situation, an unbiased opinion. Those are kind of how the stakeholders are involved in this. Make sure I see the whole picture. So things I need to get more information on. Have I been evaluated recently as a principal at what I do? Am I doing it well? Did anyone else evaluate her this year besides me? Was she being observed during the same class every time? Was it always the same time of day, the same class period, the same students? What's the professional learning like at this school? Is in the first post-visitation conference, did I give her any positive feedback to start with, kind of using that sandwich method? Or did I just give her the negative? Is that why she was so negative about it? Is her supervisor that she mentions, is that a teacher or is that someone else have another role in the school? Now on to the options. First thing I could do, as this is from the principal's point of view, I could move forward with evaluation and recommendation, wait and see if she takes it to court, have everything in line, the paperwork, the notes, and make sure all the protocol was followed, which we are assuming that it is, so I should win the case. Consequences, though, is if she's able to prove the evaluation was unfair, she could win the case if she says that I never offered any practical ideas. And if she wins the case, I will have bad press, make it hard to recruit. Great teachers could see me as unfair, not supportive, and leave my building or just not come to my building. Those are some of the consequences if I do nothing at all. If I do it all, in terms of my point of view, I could hold off sending in the evaluation, have another admin or supervisor observe or evaluate her, making sure it is different, making sure it's at a different time than what I did. I could offer professional learning on the things she struggles with. I could offer her an opportunity to go observe others that do well in the areas that she struggles with. And then I can evaluate myself. See, do I give feedback effectively? Reach out to other principals and see how they have handled situations similarly. I could observe a peer evaluating another teacher to see if I could do it better, so kind of evaluate myself. Consequence in this, she might not receive this in a positive light and may respond similarly to how she did in the post-observation conferences. And teaching might just not be her calling, and I waste a lot of time and resources. Other options I have, I could put her on a plan of assistance. I could get her a mentor. I could have a paraeducator be put with her so she can co-teach. And I could require her to take some college courses on classroom management and pedagogy to gain new skills to help her in the classroom. Now to evaluate the pros and the cons. If I do nothing at all, the pros will be it's just going to move forward. The court case is going to happen. I followed everything, so I shouldn't be at fault. I could get a new teacher, have new ideas, student learning and success goes up. The cons, though, are have I really exhausted all my options? I'll have to go through the process of finding a new teacher if she's not renewed. The court case could be stressful, and of course, I could be at fault in the court case. If I do it all, I don't have to worry about a court case. She could improve as a teacher. I don't have to look for a new teacher, and I grow myself. Cons, there's no guarantee that that will all make her better. Lots of time and energy and money is needed. Other options, the pros could be involving others, help me and Ms. Stevens grow. The con to that could be if a plan of assistant always takes time, always takes paperwork, always takes money. So my final decision is I am going to, before I turn this in, I'm going to give her a second chance or another chance and make sure I've exhausted all my resources. I'm going to have the instructional coach and other effective teachers in the building give professional learning options on classroom management and the other things that she struggled with and receiving actionable feedback. I will reach out to effective teachers and see if they don't mind Ms. Stevens observing them to gain some skills by seeing what works in their classrooms. I will reach out to my supervisor and see if they can come evaluate me and offer any professional learning opportunities for me to grow as a supervisor and evaluator. So I plan to bring her in to discuss all this, Ms. Stevens. We have to write it all down, document, make sure it's signed off. The details I've kind of listed, put her up with a mentor, see if she has anyone in mind, set up weekly professional learning sessions, and make sure there's a reflection after that and that she actually puts it in the classroom. Have conversations with her supervisor and other administrators so that I'm not the only one observing her and giving her feedback. Get a second opinion on all this. Make sure there's announced and unannounced observations. Can contact effective teachers so Ms. Stevens can go observe them. Reach out to my supervisor, my mentor, or a peer to see if they can come evaluate me, give me feedback on what I am supposed to be doing and giving actionable feedback. Ask around for professional learning opportunities for me so I can grow as well. Make sure that everything is in private so she doesn't feel like she's being ganged up on or getting defensive or gets defensive. Make sure the mentors and everyone else involved keep it to themselves. This does not need to become a whole staff know about this. Make sure professional learning is required or offered to all so Ms. Stevens isn't singled out. Make sure everything is documented and there is a time period of completion that is also written down. And make sure have others evaluate her so her performance isn't based on one person. And document. And the initial, so logical consequences, we have to discuss that to state what will happen if her evaluation ratings don't improve. The next logical thing would be to not renew her, make sure she knows that I am doing things to better myself, and make sure that she knows what will happen if things do not change. Plan B, my options for Plan B are if she isn't responsive, reach out to other people to see what they think I should do. make it an ultimatum. If she doesn't do this and take my help, then I don't renew her, and then agree that possibly we start the whole process over and someone else evaluates her. And these are my references for my case study. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much.